Chapter 26 Pretend Princesses. Silver pins of rain fell around us as we left the church. I cast an uneasy glance at the sky. The rainy season had started, and although it was only drizzling now, in the days ahead we'd face many downpours. Some years the monsoon was terrible, and it poured non-stop. Tea? You scratched at a mosquito bite on your elbow. Tea! What a good idea, Ruku. Let's visit Tea Shop Auntie. Maybe she has some beads left. I told the boys about Tea Shop Auntie, and after agreeing to meet back at the graveyard, we parted ways. The boys went to find a new Wastemark man, and you and I and Cootie walked toward the tea shop. We went around the back. I knocked hesitantly on the back door, and a smiling Tea Shop Auntie came to greet us. Fiji, I wondered how you were getting on. And Ruku? You look so much taller, standing so straight and nice. Ruku looks nice, you agreed, holding your chin even higher than before. It's good to see you again, Auntie, I said. Stay there a moment. I'll bring you a cup of tea. Although Auntie sounded genuinely pleased to see us again, she didn't invite us into her kitchen. Not that I blamed her, given how scruffy we'd become. In a few minutes, Tea Shop Auntie returned with 2 styrofoam cups filled with steaming, milky tea. Now tell me, Viji, she said as we blew on our tea to cool it, how are you doing? My friends and I sell trash to make ends meet, I said. But Ruku makes necklaces, like you taught her to, and sells them. Only we've run out of beads. May we borrow some more, if you have some? Of course! Tea Shop Auntie disappeared into her kitchen again and emerged with a small package of beads, many fewer and not as pretty as the first set she'd given us, but enough to get you going again. I kept these for you, Ruku, hoping you'd come back. Beads! You pressed the bag so hard its plastic crinkled. Beads for Ruku! We'll pay you for them by the end of the week, I said. Nonsense. It's a gift. Anyway, we'll be gone by the end of the week. I'm glad you visited because I wanted to tell you we're moving out of the city. Moving out? I echoed. It wasn't like we'd known her that well, but still, she was the only motherly person we'd met in the city. I'm sorry to hear that, Auntie. Don't be sorry. My husband's elder brother wants him to help back in the village, so I am happy to go. You sneezed, and at the sound, Tea Shop Auntie gave us one more gift, a packet of yellow powder. Mix some of this in with your milk every day, she advised. It's a mixture of turmeric and some other medicinal powders. It'll keep you from falling ill. The monsoon will get worse. Thanks, Auntie. I didn't bother pointing out that we had no money for milk. We could mix the powder with water instead. A man's voice called from the front of the shop. Abruptly, Tea Shop Auntie cut off her chatter. So nice to see you girls this one last time. Good luck. After we left the tea shop, and you and I wandered along, looking for a place to make your necklaces. Makeshift stalls stocked with fireworks had sprung up along the sidewalks, and seeing them, I realized the Diwali festival was coming up. Diwali was your least favorite festival. You hated the noisy celebrations with people setting off fireworks at every street corner. We found a park and settled down on the bench under a large tree, whose thick branches gave us some shelter from the drizzle. I found a large plastic bottle and stuck it in the ground to collect rainwater for us to drink. At least I would have one less worry during the rainy season. We could get our drinking water straight from the sky. Cootie nosed through a small mound of garbage, searching for a scrap to eat, his coat glistening. Ruku, I said, will you teach me how to make necklaces? You weren't a good teacher, or maybe I wasn't a good student. I tried watching and imitating what you did, but it took me forever just to string a few beads. Unlike you, I was clumsy with my hands. Beads slipped and rolled away at my touch, and I couldn't make the complicated knots and loops that gave your necklaces a finished look. I was scrabbling around, trying to pick up some beads I'd spilled, when I heard a girl's voice behind me. Want this? A girl stood before us, her school uniform visible beneath her transparent raincoat. A khaki school satchel was hanging off her shoulder. Want this? She repeated, waving a package at us. Take it, please. I looked at the picture of the pretty orange cream cookies on the cover of the package. If I opened my mouth, I was sure I'd drool worse than Cootie. My mother said I mustn't give money to beggars, the girl said, rattled on, but she said food was okay. I scowled at that girl. Did you hear us beg? No. She knit her brows together. So you're not beggars, but you're poor for sure. I couldn't argue with that. Giving food to poor children is a good thing, she smiled, confident and pleased with herself again. So, here are some cookies for you. You sneezed and wiped your nose on your sleeve and continued with your work. Come on, the girl coaxed, take them. Find someone else. I gave her my haughtiest look. Please, I need to do one good deed every day, teacher said, and I didn't get to do one yesterday, and I couldn't lie. And my best friend Mina did 2 yesterday, and if I can't do 1 today, she'll gloat. So, please? She looked so desperate, waving the cookie package. She was the begging one, not me. Fine, I said. Thank you, thank you. She shoved the cookies into my hands and darted off. I turned the cookie package around in my hands, feeling just like a princess who'd just granted a favor to a pitiful subject. Chapter 27, Hungry Ghost. After a while, you'd finished 2 simple necklaces. I'd finished a half. We managed to sell one of yours, but for a pitiful sum of money. I tried not to be too disappointed. Surely our bead sales would pick up again once we had a bigger stock of necklaces to show. Let's head back, I said. Looks like it's letting up a bit. Pale sunshine poked through a break in the clouds as we walked back to the graveyard. It hardly ever rained all day and all night, and even in the peak of the rainy season. But although the rain had been light, we'd stayed out so long that our clothes were wet through. I'd hoped the sun would dry us soon. We had no change of clothes. At the graveyard, Cootie ran to greet the boys, who were waiting for us. Any luck? I asked. Not really, Arul said. We went all the way to the waste mart I'd seen before, but it's gone. They bulldozed the slums in that part of the city to build a shopping complex. Speaking of building, we found a great place to build a new shelter. Muthu showed me a grave that was wider than the rest beneath a banyan tree, and a nice plastic tablecloth. Not so nice, I thought. The tablecloth stank like the garbage they'd rescued it from. The only thing that was great was how cheerful Muthu sounded. The boys suggested that we build a tent around the large grave, using it as the floor of our shelter because it was raised above the soggy ground. You and Muthu dragged some fallen branches over to use as tent poles. We stuck them deep in the ground as we could. We used one tarp as our roof, tying its 4 corners to the tops of the tent pole branches with ropes the boys had scrounged up. Once our roof was up, we pulled the other tarp around the poles, securing it as best we could to make 3 flimsy walls. We hung the tablecloth across the side that was still open to make a flappy door. We found these 3 bits of tire to use as pillows, Arul said. I don't need one. Later, we can get new mats. As you and Muthu arranged the pieces of tire in our shelter, you doubled over with a coughing fit. I quickly mixed the powder Tea-Shop Auntie had given me with the rainwater I'd collected. Arul and I had set a good example by drinking some of the bitter liquid. But Muthu made a huge fuss. Tastes worse than poison, he spluttered, swallowing it out only after I promised to reward him with a cookie. And I couldn't get you to swallow more than a mouthful. You spat out the first sip and refused to eat or drink anything else. Not even the bananas Arul had bought, or our cookies. Can't be good for us, Muthu declared. If it's made Ruku lose her appetite. We squeezed into our new sleeping quarters. I was almost happy as it was so cramped because I felt grateful for the warmth. Our damp clothes made us feel chilly, and because though I knew Arul was right, we had nothing to fear from the dead, a part of me was still scared that a ghost might float by. Ghosts didn't visit, but swarms of mosquitoes did, feasting on us and droning loudly in our ears. Nice lullaby, Muthu said. When we move out of this place, I'll miss our musical entertainment. Tomorrow we'll buy some mosquito repellent, Arul promised. Too tired to swat at the hungry mosquitoes, I dozed off, only to be wakened by the sound of footsteps. Someone was moving around in the graveyard. Had the Waysmart man found us, or was it a ghost? I held on to Cootie so he wouldn't give away our hiding place. His hair was on end, and he stood alert. "There's nothing here," it said in a rasping voice I didn't recognize. A boy. Definitely not the Waysmart man. "This place is nice and peaceful and deserted. Now let's go back." "I'm telling you, this place is haunted," came the other boy's voice. "I saw a ghost moving here near the banyan tree yesterday evening when I was cycling by." Arul sat up. He heard the approaching voices too. A twig snapped loudly. It roused Yu and Muthu. "Hungry," Yu moaned. "Hungry." "Shh," I whispered. "Shh, please, Ruku." "Did you hear that?" a voice said. I stiffened. Didn't hear anything. The other boy was trying to sound nonchalant, but his voice trembled. "Hungry," Yu wailed again. "Hungry." "Ghost!" yelled the voice yelped. "Ghost! Hungry!" Yu shrieked. "Hungry!" We heard the boys thrashing through the undergrowth, twigs snapping as they rushed away from us through the darkness. Muthu's shoulders shook with suppressed laughter. I heard the boys call out for God's protection and dash away, raising a racket as they stumbled through the dark graveyard. Muthu couldn't control his laughter any more. It burst out of him, but he did his best to sound like a demonic villain. Arul and I gave in to our laughter too. When finally it stopped, roaring tears running down my cheeks, by then you tired yourself out. "Sorry," I hiccuped, finally finding the bananas that you refused to eat that evening and handing one to you. "Those boys were too funny." "Great work, Ruku." Arul patted you on the back. "You just made the graveyard even safer than it was before." "What were they up to?" I said, daring each other to explore a haunted graveyard. "Rich boys for sure," Arul said. "You have to be rich to waste time going on escapades at night instead of catching up on precious sleep.